Brother, Dagestan, it's...
So my son's group of kids, you know how last time I sent my kids there?
You want your son
They
there?
go next to Dagestan, my son, and the rest of his teammates.
Send your son to
I
Dagestan.
go, but I'm going too, though. I'm
Why?
not. He can't go by himself.
Why? Brother,
Your son going too.
if you want your son high-level wrestling, send him 2-3 years Dagestan and forget.
3 years?
Yes.
Yeah, you're out of your mind. 2 weeks.
6 months,
2 weeks
one
he
time
goes-
you can call him.
2 weeks.
Nowadays, everybody knows Dagestan and that it's the hot spot for wrestling in the world that produces some of the best wrestlers and MMA fighters. Khabib, Islam, Hasbullah, Wrestling Bears. They say leave your kids 2-3 years in Dagestan and forget. But that is all relatively new. Nobody knew where Dagestan was on the map, or that it even was a place in the world full of world-class wrestlers, except me. Today, I'm going to tell you guys a story about how in October of 2013, I skipped school for 3 weeks to go to Dagestan in Chechnya, and how that affected the trajectory of my wrestling career, and how it led to my decisions in the sport of wrestling, and ultimately making me a world champion in freestyle wrestling 10 years later. Before we get into it, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn notification bells on. For those of you who don't know where Dagestan is, it's a regional state in southern Russia near the Caspian Sea, right next to Azerbaijan, Iran, Georgia, and other top wrestling countries, along with other Russian provinces such as Ossetia and Chechnya, which are other dominant wrestling provinces known for their wrestling. There has been over 30 world and Olympic champions that have come from Dagestan alone. Dagestan is only the size of the U.S. state West Virginia and has only 3 million people living there. But I've known about this place since I was about 8 years old. Why, you ask? Because my dad is a wrestling fanatic. Literally, my whole childhood of learning the sport of wrestling with my dad was breaking down Russians who came from Dagestan, Chechnya, or Ossetia. Saitiev, Fadzayev, Batirov, Murtazaliyev, Besik Kudakov, Gatsalov, just to name a few. So for me, it was always a dream to go and visit there and learn the Russian way of wrestling. In 2013, I just so happened to get that chance. Going into my senior year of high school, I just came back from making my first cadet world team for Team USA, where I wrestled at 54 kilograms at the Under-17 World Championships in Serbia, ironically. I happened to lose my first match and get eliminated from the tournament. That was my first international tournament and my first time overseas. This really opened my eyes to international wrestling and began to fuel my passion for freestyle wrestling even more. It made me want to become a world champion and Olympic champion more than anything in the world. It just so happened that Brandon Slay, who was coaching the developmental team for USA at the time, was planning to start a developmental trip series for top-level age group kids who wanted to attend the Team USA tour with the senior-level freestyle athletes. Slay, knowing that I love freestyle wrestling and was already on the fence about skipping college to go all in for freestyle, gave me a call and told me about this tour in Dagestan. It'd be taking place in October around a few tournaments that were located there. Because I just competed in cadet age group, I was too young to register for the senior level tournaments, but it would be a great training opportunity for me to go, obviously. The trip would comprise of some senior wrestlers that were national team caliber, such as Jimmy Kennedy, Chase Pammy, Justin Kilgore, Zach Ray, and Steve Middich, along with me and Aaron Pico, another high school level phenom wrestler from California who currently fights Bellator trying to sign into the UFC. I didn't hesitate one bit and was immediately all in. All I had to do was figure out school. Luckily, because of my successes in wrestling, my high school wanted to give me an opportunity and allow me to carry on with my work online. Fun fact, they gave me perfect attendance for missing the month of school of October, and I ended up getting a Dairy Queen gift card. And a lot of my friends are still salty about it to this day. So, I left my little town of Cedar Lake, Indiana for the first time away from my parents to travel all the way across the world to Russia. The first 2 weeks we spent in a town called Kasyurt, a small village town dedicated for wrestling, where they hosted some of the best wrestling camps in the Kavkaz region. This is a small town where the Batirov brothers are from, but almost every world and Olympic champion from the regions had at one point trained there. Now, although I was excited, this was such a huge culture shock and maturing moment for me. Being in a town thousands of miles away from my family was a totally different experience and culture with people of different values of my own. Not much to do except eat, sleep, train, and repeat. It wasn't too much fun, especially when the guys I was training with were top level guys around my age or older, so the training was extremely difficult. I remember about 2 or 3 days after I got there, I had called my parents wanting to go home. The hardest thing for me was probably going into these training sessions alone, where I was used to having my dad or my coach Alex Surtis with me at all practices. But my family told me to stay positive and keep a growth mindset. that every day I could get better as much as I could with full effort and learn as much as I could. No matter how competitive I was, this was all just training, and that I was getting better every day through my workouts. Also, it was great having Aaron Pico with me, who was my age, along with our team doctor, Barry Politi, who is great to me. He actually keeps up with me to this day. I was very intrigued with the style of workouts that we did. I loved the culture, skills, and the fight these guys provided because wrestling was everything to them. Everything felt so serious and focused from the second you get into practice. When the coach blows the whistle, you line up together and show respect for your coaches. Warm-ups were very thorough and lasted close to 30 minutes before we even started drilling. The technique was very high level and worked on many possessions with a lot of sparring, or push-push as they call it, which is pretty much just live wrestling at the end of the day. They had a very good and repetitive system, and it worked. They've had many decades of training and peaking athletes for the highest level of competition to beat anybody in the world. So they obviously knew what they were doing. We had 2 practices a day, except on Wednesdays and Saturdays, which were the off days, where we would go to sauna or do some recovery outside. Fridays or Sundays were usually match simulation day. Most of the guys I trained with I didn't know, but there were a few familiar faces. One of which was 2-time world champion and 2020 Olympic gold medalist Zaur Uguyev, who at the time was an up-and-coming Russian wrestler who had just won a junior world gold medal for Russia at 50 kilograms in 2013. We became very good friends there and also had many sparring sessions together. Another one was 2023 world champion Ismail Musakayev for Hungary. At the time, he was also an aspiring junior world silver medalist in 2013 at 55 kilograms, known for his speed and athleticism. He was one of the craziest guys that I wrestled. He was really cool and funny, and we did a lot of sparring sessions together, one which includes us wrestling for 15 minutes on video you can see here. It's so crazy seeing how he transcended in the sport of wrestling and accomplishing what he did, being known as one of the most athletic guys in the world, and I spent time training with him and knowing about him before anybody else did. It's also insane that literally 10 years after this video was taken, we both went on to win our first senior level world championships, me at 57 kilograms and him at 65 kilograms. The people in Dagestan were so friendly to us and so welcoming to us being there and training with them. The wrestlers loved us and wanted to know more about America, and also were willing to help us train and get better at wrestling. I made so many friends. The coaches gave us many gifts, took us to restaurants to eat, and even took us to areas to sightsee. One day we even had a really awesome lamb roast. My favorite memories there was watching the tournament unfold in Kasuvert, where I saw many high-level Russian wrestlers firsthand competing against each other in this tiny, amazing arena, jam-packed with energy from screaming fans. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen to this day. I also witnessed Jimmy Kennedy win the tournament, and as the prize for winning, they gifted him a car, which he had to sell for around $5,000 or $6,000. Insane, right? For the last week, we traveled to Grozny, the capital of Chechnya. Chechnya is also a very good wrestling province who's known for having legends come from there, such as the Saitiev brothers, Buvasar and Adam. But it had a bad history for being war-torn due to political and religious beliefs. We didn't do much training in Grozny in the gyms. It was more about the preparation for the tournament for the senior level guys. The Kadyrov Cup was known as one of the best tournaments in Russia to wrestle at. So at this point, the training camp was all done in Dagestan. Here was a definitely bigger city that we got to see some cool areas, such as the huge mosque there. Here at the tournament, I was able to shake hands with the late greatest wrestler of all time, Buvasar Saitiev, which was my idol growing up. So I was awestruck. He was so nice, and it also blew my mind how tall he was in person. Saitiev stood at about 6 feet tall, which was pretty crazy because most wrestlers that weight class are pretty short, so you guys would understand. A few guys from Team USA ended up placing, but Jimmy Kennedy made the finals, where the prize was between 10 and 15 grand just for second place. He raked in close to 30 grand from the whole tournament, which was crazy. When we arrived back to the USA, I definitely was happy to be home, but took a lot away from this trip. Overall, I understood the respect, skill level, and determination it took to be the best wrestler in the world. Seeing it from these people here, where wrestling meant everything, and that their life is much harder than it was for my own in the USA, I realized that there was still another level of determination to get where I wanted to go and eventually beat these guys to win a world title. But this was not the last time that I was spent in Dagestan. 5 years later, when competing for Serbia at the European Championships, they just so happened to be located in Kaspis, Dagestan, a city in the Caspian Sea. This was my first senior level tournament competing for Serbia, and you guys will never guess who my first match of the tournament was. Zaur Uguyev from Russia. The match I ended up wrestling, I lost 6-4 in a very hard-fought match, where I could tell both of us respected each other a lot from knowing each other, but we still came out to wrestle hard. I ended up finishing with a bronze medal. my first medal for Serbia, while Zaur finished with silver. Uguyev went on to win the World Championships that September in 2018, and the following year in 2019, and the Olympic gold medal in 2020. I didn't wrestle him again until 2023, where we met in the quarterfinals of the World Championships, where I avenged my loss and won the match 9-7 to go on to win my first world title and gold medal for Serbia. It's crazy how life goes and how blessed I was to have shared these small memories with these people. How we were able to accomplish our goals and dreams while crossing paths at one point while we had not virtually accomplished anything yet. Now, being 28 years old, I yearn to go back to Dagestan again and do training in the Kavkaz region. I know that I would be welcomed back with open arms, with a lot of respect from the community, especially with the name I have generated in the sport. I want to be able to bring a group of kids around my age when I first went, so that they could experience Russia the same way that I did, making sure that they had the best experience possible. I hope I can make this trip happen again soon and help me prepare for my future wrestling endeavors, but also to visit old friends that I've accumulated over the years. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and this story. Like and subscribe for more. World Champs and everything we do, baby.